Ghost photography has been around pretty much as long as cameras have. It became very popular in the late 1800s when people like William H. Mumler and William Hope started selling these pictures to grieving widows and ghost enthusiasts. Yeah, they were around back then too. Of course, these people were exposed as frauds. I don't have any good sources for this, but it's said that Mumler was exposed when some of the ghosts in his photos turned out to be, still alive, which would not surprise me one bit. Today, ghost photography is one of the most popular forms of evidence presented by ghost hunters and the ghost hunting community. Ghost photographies come in many shapes and sizes, but most of them can be placed in one of three categories: orbs, ectoplasm, and apparitions. So let's take a look at each category and see what treats they have in store for us. Orbs seem to be by far the most common form of ghost photography, but to be fair, not all ghost hunters. Jag försöker spela in. Where was I? Not all ghost hunters believe in them, but a lot of them do. So, what are orbs? Well, I hardly think I have to explain it, since most of you have probably figured it out by now. These orbs are just dust particles or specks of moisture, either just from the air or from the exhalation of the photographer's breath, among other things. The flash of the camera illuminates them, and they throw the light back, creating this halo effect. Let's create some orbs! And there's a whole slew of them. Ectoplasm manifests itself as a mist or fog. Ectoplasm is almost worthy of a video on its own, but an old and popular theory is that mediums sort of secrete this stuff when they're in a trance. Way back when, people stuffed gauze and cotton in their mouth and took pictures, which is not ridiculous at all. Nowadays, it's not as commonly referred to as ectoplasm. Ghost hunters just seem to talk about ghosts taking the form of a mist. I haven't read any commonly accepted explanation for it within the ghost hunting community. They do love their mysteries. The modern ectoplasm photos typically consist of cigarette smoke or the foggy breath of the photographer that is being illuminated by the flash. Let's create some ectoplasm! Didn't work. Bad idea. Ooh, maybe it's a demon. Come on, Kayako. Just a few more. This is by far the most interesting of the categories. In these pictures, we have apparitions. Now, this is what ghosts should look like. I don't think they need any further explanation, so let's just go straight for the jugular. The older ghost photographies were almost exclusively multiple exposures. This is done by exposing a frame of film to a subject, and then later, accidentally or purposely, exposing the same frame of film to a different subject. Accidental multiple exposures are easy to spot, as the colors tend to be washed out and the overall brightness is very high. This is because capturing a picture on a frame of film is an additive process. You can only capture light on film, and any unexposed areas will remain dark. So if one of the exposures are dark, you can create some very ghost-like effects. Other explanations for apparitions can be reflections, misidentified objects such as people, pictures of people, or that the picture have been manipulated in Photoshop or similar. So let's take a look at a few popular apparitions and see if we can figure them out. This is obviously a multiple exposure. Look at the darker areas of the apparition. Notice how they're not actually dark, they're just more transparent. It's because it's an additive process. Of course, it could be Photoshop as well, but I'm gonna guess that it's a multiple exposure. Ho-ho! A red ghost! I'm guessing that some of my viewers never had the pleasure of using actual film when taking pictures, but if light somehow leaked into the camera, this is what you'd get. This used to happen a lot towards the end of a roll of film. What pisses me off about this one is that the site that I found it on actually have a debunking segment. They typically do because they want to appear more honest. But in this debunking segment, they actually have light leak photos. But this one, this is obviously a ghost, because if you try real hard, you can almost see a person in the blob. Are you kidding me? It's just reflection. Look, this is probably a tree, and this is something else. But it looks like a face. Yeah, but most of its shape is defined by the tree. Take the tree away and who knows what we would end up with. Now we're talking. The extreme noise in this picture looks very digital. The contrast also appears to have been tampered with. Now, to be fair, they could have used a high ISO film, but I'm guessing that the noise was added digitally to hide a crappy job in Photoshop. The vignette looks absolutely insane. If we remove the ghost, we're left with a very awkward composition. Take a look at the pictures posted by your friends on Facebook. They're centered. When people who are not professionals take pictures, they're almost exclusively centered. So let's take a look at the ghost. Is it a falling body or is it someone? And what kind of asshole of a flash were they using? The ghost is casting shadows in directions that other objects in the photo are not. Why is the flash only illuminating one of the arms and the rest of the body is dark? And why is the face pitch black? The earliest posting of this picture I could find dates to 2009, and it took me to a forum for horror fiction. So I contacted the person who uploaded it and asked, where did you find it? And he said he found it somewhere around 2006. Other people claim to have seen the photo as early as the late 90s or early 2000s, and this makes sense to me. Back then, people still bought printers and scanners, so my guess is that someone said, hey, let's scan grandma's old pictures and burn them to a CD-ROM, because those last forever. Someone in the family got the idea to turn them into a ghost picture with their crappy editing skills. And this would also explain the small size of the picture and the horrendous compression. Ghost hunters, this is not difficult. If you would just think about these things, you wouldn't have to make a fool of yourself. Now, it's not inherently foolish to believe in ghosts, but these pictures, man. These pictures. Don't give up on your brain. You have so much more that you could understand if you just tried. Have you looked at a postcard of Switzerland and understood why the mountains in the back have their bluish tint? Have you microwaved a pizza and understood why the cheese in the middle just didn't melt? Have you ever watched Japanese fart porn and understood the mechanics responsible for that forceful yet soft and rambunctiously graceful toot? Have you ever looked at a ghost photograph and realized that it's just your own wishful thinking? It's not too late. You can still be skeptical. But you're not going to, are you? During the last week, my subscriber count just from 80 to I'm almost up in 2,000 now. So welcome everybody. I really appreciate the tremendous feedback that I've gotten. Thank you Logic for the shout out, and thank you ISIS Original, I don't know how to pronounce your name, for the support. And all you new viewers, welcome. This is for you. Seriously, guys. You're awesome.